ever swag it on that?
Do you think Spooktacular is trademarked? Do you think I can say Spooktacular?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways. Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week. Happy October 30th. This is the conclusion of the Eating Soup Alone Spooktacular Nightmare on Elm Street Megathon. Is Megathon a thing?
Megathon? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, we watched all of these. Most recently, this episode is about the Nightmare on Elm Street 2010, the remake. Platinum Dunes. Do you have a history with this film at all?
No.
No?
Absolutely none.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Neither do I. I've never seen it. Do you have any history with like the Platinum Dunes stuff? I mean, I know we watched the Friday the 13th. Platinum Dunes movie. You seem to like that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it begins and ends with Platinum Dunes for me. I know they did. It's always strange to me. Did the
Michael Bay.
Texas Chainsaw came out in what, 2003?
3 or 4,
That's insane. That movie's 20 years old.
Yeah.
It's gross to think about this movie being 13 years old.
Yeah.
Let alone 20. Oh
yeah.
God.
Yeah, weird era of the like horror remake, all coming from that Platinum Dunes thing. Because they're all weird to me.
Yeah.
They're all a little weird.
Yeah, it was 2003. Yeah.
Because it's hard to place it, but I think primarily it has to do with what we were talking about a few episodes ago, where it's just that thing where it's like slashers, et cetera, work so perfectly for me in that 80s era because of the sort of like the fun atmosphere, the innocence of that, like the way that the decade portrayed its youth. And there's just something so like bleak and bland and not memorable about how the aughts portrayed their youth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like this is basically like really, really, really shitty Supernatural or like really, 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 really shitty Twilight. But then also Freddy Krueger shows up sometimes and stabs people. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to shit on those things individually, Twilight or Supernatural. Sure. It's just like a really bad knockoff of like just generic teen, everybody's got perfect angle face and nobody's interesting. Like from that era, everybody was doing it. Like that was just what teen shit looked like then.
Yeah, and
it doesn't complement slasher well.
It doesn't. I mean, I feel like it should though, because I was telling you while we're watching it, the director of this movie directed the music video for "Smells Like Teen Spirit" and "Boulevard of Broken Dreams," and he directed "Bullet in a Bible" and I want to say like the "Welcome to the Black Parade" music video. Sure. So if anyone is capturing what teen culture looks like in the aughts, it's probably this guy.
Yeah, but this is not it.
It didn't, and like I was hoping that it would. This movie would smack of it, but it doesn't. Yeah.
Well, right off the bat, because again, this is the second episode in a row where I've just got this bitch rolling while we're talking about this thing. Let's put some subtitles on too. I mean, what if I catch a little bit of dialogue that makes me go, "Oh yeah, why don't I mention that?" This opening diner scene, not trying to be a dick or nitpicky, but this is a nitpick. I feel like it goes on forever.
It does.
They're just in this like rainy Springwood diner. It's boring. It's bland.
I feel like this whole movie. Thank God. Praise it. 90 minutes.
Yeah. The vibes, not good in the diner also. No music, I feel like. Maybe there is music. We talked about that during the movie. Music, generic, bland, quiet, barely there this whole time. Which is a travesty because, you know what I love? The or whatever the fuck, the little like twinkly bells. Nightmare on Elm Street has a theme.
Yeah, no.
And they didn't use it.
If I can speak for you, I think what you do like about that is that you can remember it.
Yeah.
And it's not just there.
It's not just strings with like shung dung 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 kind of drums, you know.
Yeah.
Which happens during that's the one thing I remember is just like during the climax because I was like, what the fuck is this, Man of Steel? What's up with these Hans Zimmerman drums that just came in there? But anyways,
as much as I love to defend him, and the movie, The Dark Knight fucking just destroyed movies for a good long time. From everything from like movies being dark to the Hans Zimmer soundtrack just being all that there is, or just the dun chicka dun, which sucks.
Yeah.
Especially when I hear like a Hans Zimmer in a newer movie, I'm always like, this kicks ass. This guy knows what he's doing. But also, it's pervasive and it's everywhere and it sucks and it makes me angry.
A couple things about this scene though. There's the one guy who's supposed to be Leather Jacket boyfriend in this movie. He looks like Rob Lowe. And also the other thing I want to say is the guy we meet in the beginning, who I guess is like our Jamie Lee Curtis or Janet Leigh. We think, oh, this is probably the main character, and then he dies, which, you know, it's usually a lady.
That's a good point.
You know, but he gets his hand cut when he has his like little nightmare, and I'm like, oh, it's one of these movies, you know?
Yeah.
There's two types of movies out there. One's where Freddy hurts you in the dream, and it's the same way in real life, and then there's ones where he hurts you in the dream, and that's just dream way, and you just die in bed.
Yeah, and every movie is like that. Like every movie that's ever been made is like that. You just don't know because
nobody fell asleep.
Not there.
Yeah, you didn't show up.
Asleep,
you know?
But every director knows. Every writer knows.
But I will say there are some things I like about this movie for sure. First of all, I did like the Haley Joel Osment Freddy. And then he's got like the knife, and he's like, I'm gonna stab you in the neck or whatever. And he's like, no, don't stab me in the neck. And then, but in real life, again, because it's one of those movies, it looks like he's about to stab himself in the neck, and he fucking stabs it in and takes it across his whole neck. Like, and I'm not just talking about like, oh, he slit his neck. I'm saying like he stabbed his neck and then dragged the length of the blade inside of him, like handle across his throat, while the whole thing was in there. Kind of, oh my god, it's happening right now.
Yeah, disgusting.
Ooh. This was horrifying.
Yeah, I thought
and
from
gross.
Here. I was like, this movie ain't gonna be that bad.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I didn't have.
Oh God, there it is.
I didn't have high hopes for this movie, but I didn't have, you know, my expectations weren't at the floor, which was a mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, this kind of commits like the biggest sin in my opinion, which is that it's just boring. It's just really, really boring.
I'm losing my mind here right now. I'm looking at the cast.
Yeah.
Our main character, Nancy.
Yeah.
You know, like Nancy in the first one.
Sure, yes.
Different Nancy.
Yeah?
This one's Nancy Holbrook. The other one's Nancy Thomas.
Okay.
And when I was like, oh, that guy's Leather Jacket boyfriend, he is not. When I was like, oh, that's Leather Jacket boyfriend's girlfriend, she is not.
Yeah.
No character is the same from the first one. I was...
Well, this Nancy sucks. She's very, like, phoning it in. Like, not really...
Well, she's not like other
swinging.
girls, Chris.
Yeah, she's not really swinging for the fences, though. This is not... Yeah. Not trying to win an Oscar with this one. Yeah, no.
Oh, she's the girl with the dragon tattoo. I didn't know that. But, yeah, her and her boyfriend, who I hate, are both just anytime they enter a scene, it is just letting you know that he's not like other boys.
Yeah, Joy Division.
She's not like other girls.
They do art.
Yeah, her mom catches her painting at midnight.
Yeah.
Because, you know.
That's what teens are staying up to do.
Not like other girls, Chris. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah. The next thing that happens is they go to a funeral for the guy that just stabbed himself in the neck, and there's some obvious, like, a little bit of dialogue here and there about, like, oh, you know, with the sweater guy in the dreams. And they're like, what? You have those too? But the other thing is, the big thing that happens at this funeral that's, like, you know, I guess different and unique to this film is she's like, what are these pictures of, you know, Dean before I remember meeting Dean in high school, you know? Planting the seeds for later on. Freddy lived at the school or underneath the school in his little diddle dungeon. I don't know who was, like, not paying attention to that. You know what I'm saying? Or, like, if that was okay. I guess, like, maybe he was the maintenance guy and they thought, like, oh, whatever, keep a cot here if you want. Like, I don't know.
That's a great point. They never bring it up. They mention that he lived under there, but that's a good question to ask is...
Who gave the clearance on that?
Was he allowed or was he squatting?
Yeah. So he hangs out on there, and then he spends all day, every day with these kids, and he loves the kids. And then eventually, this girl goes home, and she's just got the claw marks on her back.
Funniest part of this movie to me.
Yeah.
So mom's like, yeah, and then we started noticing things.
Yeah.
And it just cuts to the giant claw marks on her back. That's like when someone in a movie...
Yeah, I imagine it would be like, an inappropriate, like, oh, well, that was a weird way for him to hug. Like, I thought it would escalate, but no, it just goes right to,
it's like, oh, there's this little rip on my daughter's dress, or like, oh, there's like blood on her backpack or something like that. And then no, just...
claws on the back.
Freddy Krueger was here, is carved into her back, and her mom's like, I think something's up.
Also, side note, just to mention that we're here already with the... CGI Freddy coming out of the walls. Again, I'm not like trying to defend the practical effect as like, oh, it's the most scary thing that has ever been, or yada yada. It's mildly scary. I think that it benefits from the fact that you can tell that a physical, tangible man is coming out of the walls. But like the CGI thing, like who could watch that and be like, yep, scary enough to put on our horror film? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. And it happens so quick, and like it has no tension in the scene or anything like that. It just like happens. Like, why? Because it happened in the first movie. Like, what did they use it for?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that just happens because it happened in the first movie.
Yeah, like again, I don't even mean to say that as like an asshole thing. I mean like genuine gripe. Like what? Why? Because again, like you didn't, it's got enough going on here. I'm not saying that what's going on is good, but I'm saying it doesn't have to rely on like, oh well, we better grab like some of the greatest hits from the other one. You guys are doing enough new. You don't have to do that. This is a different Freddy. This is a different movie. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm saying, like good or bad, you have your own merits to stand on. You didn't have to do that. Be more confident in yourself.
Yeah, it's so. Like when it comes to doing a remake or something like that, or even paying homage to another movie.
Yeah.
Like if it's a movie if it's a completely separate movie and you steal a shot or it's that thing, steal, copy, don't steal or whatever. That's fine. Like if you're, I have no example off the top of my head right now.
Scorsese.
It happens all the time where directors will just straight up steal a shot from another movie and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
But if it's a remake of a movie, treat it like a just different, like a cover song. Like just make it yours. Make it like, oh, the shot starts the same way as the one that you remember, or like, oh, it turns into the shot that you remember, or just be something creative. Do your own thing. When you make a movie is all I'm asking.
Then this girl who's not Nancy goes into the attic and she finds, I thought like, what's that?
It's our attic, by the way.
We have the same exact like ladder
1-to-1
hardware situation.
She opens it.
She finds these like filing cabinet boxes like that my mom used to have when she worked at like Kelly Services, shit like that, like just things that like secretaries and receptionists and like accountants like used to keep files in before computers existed. And it just has like first grade, second grade, yada yada yada, and she's pulling stuff out of like, oh, there's a picture of her as a little baby and it's a doll, and then she pulls out third thing, which just objectively is funny because the rule of threes, a little doll girl, baby girl outfit, but it has the claw marks through it. Like, so again, planting the seeds of like, I think I forgot to mention earlier because we were talking about how he lives in the basement. And that's weird, but he was like diddling these kids, and then I guess everybody. I don't know if it was intentional. Do they say that it's intentional, or that they just all coincidentally repressed it, or did they intentionally repress it in their children somehow with like drugs or something?
I think they all just happen to have repressed it.
Yeah. Which again, I hope it's not that because I'm not trying to be a nitpicker, but like that's crazy.
Oh, a lot of this movie is crazy.
Yeah.
Like the fact that, none of them remember each other.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, when they're at the funeral, she's a picture of the dead guy, and she, as a little girl's in the picture. She's like, this is insane. I shouldn't be in this picture. I didn't meet him until high school.
Yeah.
And I was mad when that happened. So I was like, how? Are you telling me Freddy Krueger put her in this picture? He's a dream monster. He can't be doing stuff like this. And then I got an answer for it. It was even worse.
Yeah.
It's all... I mean, I'm sure we'll get to it, but... All of it sucks.
I think Haley Joel Osment did a decent job. I do like this Freddy. His speech pattern grates on me a little bit. It's a little slow. I wish he'd pick it up. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he's a bad Freddy. I like this Freddy, this more serious, dark Freddy, especially because, as we've talked throughout this entire series, my favorites have been the first two, where Freddy's a little more serious, a little more spooky, and sometimes, he says shit that's like funny, but in like a disturbing way, like not a laugh out loud or whatever, like the dog's dead with like claw marks and he's like, I was just petting him. Yeah. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's like whatever, just stuff like that is fine. But, the dream sequences, except for just weird stuff like that transition into the dream where she's in class and everybody just poofs into dust and then it's just him and her. When it's just him and her, a little spooky. I think I mentioned at one point in the movie, like later on, like, a character like ends up in the boiler room because they end up in the boiler room all the time. And I was like, he's just got this thing where like, until I see him, I'm like, all right, where's this weird little gremlin, man? Where's he at? Where's he at? Like, I do feel the tension of like, okay, like there's later on this girl who's not Nancy is like in school and then she's like around in the corner and she can hear like the 3, 2, 1. He's like, all right, I'm coming to get you, or whatever, like hide and seek kind of thing. I was like, okay, all right. These things aren't horribly horrifying, but they're decent. I feel like Freddy is probably the most enjoyable part of this film.
Oh, for sure.
By a country mile.
What I like about him is I do like that he looks like a man who had his face burned off rather than pizza. Like he's got like they do the thing where like his eyes and his mouth just look like, I don't know if you've seen somebody who has lost their face, but it looks kind of like him. And I think Haley Joel Osment is good, but I think the Freddy Krueger costume in general is not scary.
Yeah.
And it's just goofy.
Yeah.
And in the first two, when you have that slimy pizza man inside of it coming out of the darkness, it works because it's creepy and it's weird.
Yeah.
In this, when you try to like rough it up and make it look dark and scary, it just looks dumb. So I think he looks a little silly in this movie.
Okay.
My biggest problem though is they do which we'll talk about more, but they do hey, let's try to get you to be sympathetic with Freddy.
They do.
For a second.
Yes.
And he's very much so like, from my understanding, the other Haley Joel Osment movie, where he plays a pedophile, which isn't saying that he would do it twice.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about this, but continue.
He's like when he's not burned Freddy, he's like a meek, quiet guy who wants to bang kids.
Yeah.
And then when he's Freddy Krueger, he's got this deep, deep voice, and he's like, rah, 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 and he's like very like, for lack of a better term, personable. And it's like these are two different guys. And it's the worst part of not the worst part of the movie, but it's the toughest part of the movie for me, because I think Haley Joel Osment does great in either or, but layering them both on top of each other, it does not work. When Freddy Krueger is a monster who's killing people, it just feels like somebody that is not a tough guy trying to be a tough guy. And it's like,
fair.
All right, man.
I get you. Yeah, some consistency would be nice, because I know that has been a gripe for a lot of people. Is like he's kind of just doing the Rorschach voice.
But also that's his voice.
That's his voice, but also, I don't think, I don't think it's a bad performance. I also agree that he didn't necessarily have to do a monster voice. Mm-hmm. I feel like he could have just been like, oh, come now. I was just trying to pet the dog or whatever. But, anyways, and it would have probably been creepier. Like, if a guy, if you're a little meek guy and you're a little weird guy, lean into that shit. It's just as spooky as a big, muscular guy.
Yeah.
With a gruff voice.
When you got knives for fingers, there's not a
just
lot of work you need to do. Yeah.
Be a little gremlin freak. I keep taking back the funniest scene in the movie. They try to replicate, like, kind of like the Tina kill, but instead of, like, her just, like, bleeding all over the ceiling, they just, like, throw her around in, like, the funniest... the editing is funny.
It feels
like this rapid... Like, see what I'm saying? Like, the editing is just funny. Like, you get that angle, like, through the mirror is how you see it, and then up, and then to the side, and then dugga. So, like, because, like, none of the shots match up. It implies in my head that it's been going on for a long time, and that they're, like, speeding up.
Yes, exactly. Like, it feels like there's a movie where, a ghost slams somebody against the wall onto the ceiling, throws them on the bed, and then they explode with blood.
Yeah.
And then Scary Movie comes out. Scary Movie 6 comes out.
Yeah.
And the scene aping that is in
this movie,
where she's smashing against every wall multiple times.
Yeah.
Like, it almost feels like the boyfriend's going to answer the phone.
Yeah.
And then, like, in the background, out of focus, she's still just going to be slamming against walls. It's madcap. It's wacky.
It's one of my favorites. He runs away like Leather Jacket Boyfriend, but instead of Leather Jacket Boyfriend and Nancy meeting in the bush on her way to school, and then they did, the thing with John Saxon where she's like, you set me up, and he's like, get back home, which is all great. Instead, he just like shows up at her painting studio bedroom, and American Psycho History X fucking Horror Story. Mom is there, and she wears glasses, and then he says, don't fall asleep, because when you sleep, you die. And then the pops are like, don't fucking move. The cops, not the pops. And they take him to jail. And do we ever see this guy again?
Oh, yeah. He dies in jail.
He dies in jail. Right now?
Well, later. He falls
asleep. Okay. So, he goes to jail. Nancy calls someone on the phone. There he is in jail. Is he going to die right now?
He could. Where's her boyfriend?
Right now he's at a bookstore, and he looks up sleep deprivation, and then he hallucinates a little girl, and he walks around because he's having like a little dream attack. He's walking around.
I'd like to talk about him for a moment.
Sure, we can do that.
He sucks.
You don't like him?
That's all. Move on.
Okay.
Do you remember in Scream 5, there's that one scene where there's like a dude in like a denim vest that gets killed at his car behind a bar?
I do not.
And that's where they play Red Right Hand?
No.
Oh, well, that's him.
Oh, okay.
He's just a strange-looking guy, and I find him grating and annoying in this movie.
Okay.
And he is the worst part of it for me.
Okay.
So I guess I wanted to just talk to him to just shit on him for a little bit, and I feel bad. I feel bad about it. I shouldn't have done it.
Is this the one where he says to the guy, he's like, after you die, the brain functions for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
We got 6 more minutes, or whatever. Yeah. It's good.
I highly disagree.
Yeah.
I think that sucks because it implies a one-to-one with what's happening outside and in the dream, instead of it being like a dream where it's like kind of ethereal until he's like, all right, now you're gonna die, so that's what it's gonna look like on the outside. But like, I don't know. I have never gotten the impression that that's how the dreams work, or even dreams in real life work.
Okay.
And so for him to, I don't know, that is for sure nitpicky of me.
Yeah. I didn't take it that way. I just assumed it was like after he's dead, like the brain still works, whatever. So like he's just still in dreamland, even though his body is dead and like his soul has left his body. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it doesn't make sense really, but it's just I don't know. That was a spooky little thing. I think they also
it's a cold thing for a killer to say, but also
it's like a wallet that says bad motherfucker. But he also says that other thing where like he like whimpers and he like balls up, you know. And he's like, "Oh, why are you crying? I haven't even cut you yet." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, sheesh." So Haley Joel Osment, a very spooky guy. Haley Joel Osment, no, not Haley Joel Osment, sad face boy, and his Nancy girlfriend are at the bookstore. They're talking about microsleep, about how they're like, "Hey, we got to stay awake, but the more we stay awake, the more that our brain is just going to turn off sometimes for a couple of seconds, and then eventually, if we stay up enough, we go into a coma." Forever.
Hey, Chris, where did they get this information from?
A book, the internet, Gigablast.
They got it from the search engine Gigablast, which is my favorite part.
Have you tried to go to Gigablast? Gigablast.com
I'm about
or something?
Yeah, let's see.
Well, while he does that, we get another scene where Nancy is falling asleep in the tub, and again, something happens just to happen from the other movie. She falls asleep, and Freddy's glove comes up, and then her mom is like, "Hey, don't fall asleep in the tub," or whatever. And she's like, "I won't." And then nothing happens. Which is, again, like, I'm not saying, you don't have to do the Nancy pulled down the tub thing again. But in the first one, the claw thing leads into her falling asleep and getting pulled down and stuff. In this one, that just happens, and then she gets up and she goes in her bedroom and it's snowing. And I'm fast forwarding because I don't remember what happens. She walks outside. Freddy shows up, calls her little Nancy. Says that she smells different or something maybe, and then she wakes up and then so that's the replacement nightmare. Not as scary, I feel like, as the drowning attempt thing. Very, very intense.
But big news on my end over here. Gigablast is a real search engine.
Okay.
But what it does is I can't turn it on my computer without unplugging everything, so you're going to have to just take my word for it. It is just 7 different search bars that lead to, one goes to Yahoo, one goes to Google, one goes to Ask.com, one goes to Bing.
Okay.
So you can use all of the search engines from this website.
Okay.
Chris?
What?
Why would you, A, not use Google?
Sure.
And B, why would you want to use 2 at once?
When you want to blast, baby.
You can add more. I can personalize this and put Alta Vista on here.
Nice, you should. While you were doing that, in the movie world, they become obsessed with this school that they don't remember, and then they meet with American Horror Story mom, and she's like, "Okay, so this is a school you guys went to. He lived in the basement. He diddled you guys. You guys all forgot about it somehow. And don't worry, he left town, instead of saying we burned him alive or whatever. And don't worry about him,
Also, her dad is boyfriend's dad is Mr. Krabs. Go on.
Yes, that's true. I guess maybe now, since I'm like kind of skipping around and not really seeing anything worth talking about, we can talk about how Nancy's like looking up other people from this school and they're all dying, and there's one guy who's like, "I've been having dreams of this sweater man. He's gonna kill me." But what I wanted to talk about specifically is Did the molestation thing add anything for you? Did they have to do the molestation thing?
I'd argue it took a lot away for me.
Yeah, what the fuck? Because again, it was like, I feel like I'm watching a weird movie about a bunch of people who were traumatized by a guy who lived in the basement, and then also sometimes a dream demon shows up. Like, it feels kind of disjointed almost.
Yeah. Like, you know what I don't hate? I don't hate the idea of Friday, a Nightmare. God, this is the last one.
Yeah, and you're still saying Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
A Nightmare on Elm Street movie where, the plot is the parents suspected Freddy of molesting their kids, so they took matters into their own hands and killed him without trying to get a warrant or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it turns out, they might have been wrong.
But my thing is
Freddy Krueger
have him be wrong, them be wrong, and then that makes sense why he's getting like revenge or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have any of it pan out in any direction.
Yeah.
And great.
Because if he wasn't framed, then what was the point of wasting all of our time with this movie?
Because they go to Mr. Krabs and they're like, "What the fuck did you do?" And they're like, "Hey, fuck you." Mr. Krabs is like, "Fuck you, I'm your father."
Yeah, he's like, "Wait till you have kids and they get diddled, then you're gonna do stuff." And he's like, "But how do you know he even diddled us?"
He's like, "I was 5. We could have been making stuff up." It's like, why are you?
That's a wild take to have for sure.
Why are you not on? Why are you taking this? Why are you dying on this hill?
Yeah, why are you dying on the guy who lived in the basement's hill?
Yeah.
Not to like dogpile and like, yeah, that guy's a molester. Don't know. I'm just saying again, it is a weird stance to be like, specifically the argument of we were 5, we could have been making it up is like.
No, I think it's specifically what he says is we would have said anything. It's like that doesn't track, but also, so his theory is that they were kids and they all decided to make up a rumor that they were being molested.
Yeah. So if they weren't getting molested, then he's just the guy who likes to scratch their back sometimes?
That's a great point. They have big scratches on their back. It's not... I'm
not saying burn that man down, but at least the scratching is already enough to be like, okay, jail time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. What I'm saying, though, is the scratches on the back is enough proof for your son, I would say, for him to be like, how do you guys know? I'd be like, oh, well, she had giant scratches. You could probably see them right now. She probably still has these scars.
Yeah.
And it, like, culminates in they're all having dreams where they're getting closer and closer to the basement of the preschool.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, fuck, Freddy wants us to go there.
Yeah.
And they go there and they find the Polaroids, don't know why it's always Polaroids, of proof that he was a molester.
Yeah.
Why did he want that? Why did Freddy want that?
Yeah.
Why they're like, oh, he wanted us to find this. Why?
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. I was just gonna. That's actually the question I was gonna pose. He was like, why does he want them to go to the basement?
No idea.
Because again, all his goal really is to get revenge.
Mm-hmm.
So what's this side quest that he has to draw everybody to the basement?
Yeah, and there's so much like.
Because you know what would have been better? I don't know how you do this, but like if it would have led them to some kind of proof that he didn't.
Yeah.
Because then that would have paid off with like the whole story you're telling.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then, I don't know what that looks like. I'm not saying that exists. I don't know what exists. I don't know how you prove that you didn't diddle kids.
I don't know how you would do that either.
But it's just like, for the story you're telling, it doesn't make sense for them to get led. Unless it's like, it would have to be like, it would be pretty dark and I'd be into it. But like, he'd have to be like, yeah, that's right. I'm just super fucked up, and I did do that shit, and I'm just killing you because I'm awful. Ha 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 ha. Like if he was like leading them along, like, oh, what if an innocent guy died? Like, and then he was like, psych, I'm bad, bitch. Like that'd be pretty funny. But they don't do anything like that either, which is a crazy turn to make and not good storytelling either. But I'm just saying that like if there was a way to pull off that, maybe I could be into it. But
well, that'd be way better because I think like if this movie was the point of this movie was like, hey, when it comes to pedophiles. Maybe let's not jump the gun. That's a weird stance to take.
It is for sure.
But for it to do the flip of like, nope, I'm a fucked up dude, and I gotcha. That would be great. I would really enjoy that.
And who knows? Maybe he did say like one line or something that I missed or something because this is a boring film, and I might have missed it.
Yes. What was I going to say? Oh, and it's so all of the lore in this movie that we're talking about that does not go anywhere.
Yeah.
For some reason, it raising all of these questions it made it so that this is the first time in all of these movies I've watched. At the end, I'm like, okay, but why is he a dream demon?
Yeah.
Why you're trying to explain so much of Freddy Krueger?
Yeah.
And we're just skipping past that he's a demon man who haunts you in your dreams.
Yeah.
Like that. Like in the first movie, you get just enough of his backstory and who he is and what he was and yada yada, so that the fact that he's a dream monster is incidental. And I'm like, okay, he's just a scary guy. I get it now.
That's the thing with spooky stuff is like, explain as little as possible, because otherwise it loses its stuff for sure. Absolutely.
I also really like that in the original they take like Hypnosil so that they don't dream and stuff like that. In this one,
they take Adderall
because it's not your dad's Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, these kids are on Adderall so they don't fall asleep. I love it.
I'll say another thing that's they actually addressed a big problem that I had with Freddy Krueger and have had since day one. This man loves his claw handgun thing or hand glove. He kills everybody with it. There's not
it all the time.
There is 0 kills in this movie where he doesn't scratch/stab/slash
There's
somebody.
a part when not leather jacket boyfriend's girlfriend is in class right before everyone disappears. She's flipping through her book looking at a bunch of like medieval drawings. Yeah. And one of them is the Freddy glove. Yeah. And immediately I was like, oh, was I right? Was this like a medieval thing that people used to have? And then I remembered, no, he had a bunch of prototypes and he was making ones with like razor blades and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's another hospital scene where they're like gonna shoot her with the sleep drug, classic, but she runs away. Boyfriend and her driving. He sees Freddy in the road, and they have awful pulling teeth conversation about like, what's your favorite color? And he's like, blue. Whatever. They crash the car.
Most boring boy answer of all time.
Yeah.
Chris, do you know what my favorite color is?
What's your favorite color?
It's blue.
Yeah.
What's your favorite color?
I usually just say blue.
Yeah.
I also really like all the colors, though. I don't really like have a favorite so much. I mean, I like green a lot. I like yellow a lot. I like red a lot.
I like a lot of colors.
I say blue because it's just like, I guess if I had to pick one, blue. But
yeah, exactly.
Again, it's like I don't really have that many preferences. They're all pretty good.
I
can tell you some of my least favorites, but go on.
I'd love to hear them.
Kind of anything close to neon.
Oh, neon's garbage.
Yellows when they get towards that. Pinks when they get towards that. Greens when they get towards that. Like a little more earthy.
I don't know who neon is made for. I mean, I know it's not made for anybody. It just exists. But also, it's always ugly.
Yeah.
And I always dislike it. I like a yellow to be closer to a gold.
Yeah. Or not necessarily my favorite, but again, more like a pastel. That's a better palette for a yellow than neon too. They find the school.
Oh, okay.
They find the basement.
They
find the diddle dungeon.
Before we move on,
sure.
Anyone listening, if you're a guy, go ahead and message us anywhere you like. Let us know what your favorite color is. If you're a girl, not that I don't care, but that's not really part of the experiment.
Yeah.
Let us know your favorite color, I guess. But if you are near a guy, ask him and let us know.
Yeah.
If you're non-binary, please let us know what your favorite color.
Sure.
I'd like to know where blue falls on that.
Yeah. Speaking of guy problems, something I was just discussing. There's an epidemic of. It was something I was just talking about at the cafe I stopped in, and because I just mentioned like, oh yeah, I was trying to stay off like Instagram Reels or whatever. And the lady I was talking to was like, yeah, my boyfriend like spends a lot of time on Instagram Reels. I was like, oh yeah, Armand? I was like, Armand, when we're at band practice, is playing bass while looking at Instagram Reels on the top of his bass amp. And she was like, it sounds like there's like a real problem with like guys on Instagram. I was like, I know. I have like 4 or 5 chats on my Instagram that are just Instagram Reels going back and forth. And then there were 2 guys in the cafe that were like, what's about this Instagram Reels? And then for like maybe like 5 minutes, they're both looking at their phone and like they were like, okay. And they're like, so just like this stuff or whatever, and like showed to her, and she's like, no, those are stories. And I showed them on their phones, like, no, right here, this icon, this is a whole. And they were like, whoa. And they were like, wow, that's just a girl with a really big butt. She's a babe. And I was like, yeah, a lot of my friends call it the horny app. And then they swiped up and they're like, whoa, this is a hot girl pruning. And they're like, I'm gonna check this out later. And like even the other guy like was like yeah, I had no idea about the Reels thing. I have to check this out later, because I was telling them like, oh yeah, it pays attention to what you like and interact with, and it shows you more and more and stuff. And they were like, wow, this is crazy. And I was like, I think I might have ruined these 2 men's lives.
Yeah, you might have.
Yeah.
What is pruning?
Like pruning a tree,
Okay,
like
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. For reference, my Reels are not just ladies with big butts pruning trees. Yeah, my Reels are like people getting hit by trucks and white people saying the N-word.
Yeah, you have. I don't know how you've done it, but you've cultivated the best algorithm on every app that you have.
I should sell it, huh? I should sell my Instagram.
Like how people sell like Fortnite accounts because they got all the skins. You should do that.
Yeah.
You should just curate different Instagram profiles and TikToks.
Yeah.
Because yeah, everything you show me is either like the funniest or the hardest to watch thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's always funny.
Yeah. What I really should do is I should just start one of those meme pages where I'm just curating, like just reposting this shit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I could have a fucking killer meme page, but I would probably no longer have sex.
You've got a reason to be doing it. You can make money off of that shit. You could be selling ads.
Mamma mia. Okay. Well, things are going to be different next week for me.
I'd hope so.
Yeah. Well, back to this film. We already talked about it. They're in the basement. They find the fucking Polaroids. Yeah. Then she falls asleep. Seemingly like, what is this? Like, with the plan to, like, pull him out? Probably?
Because she thinks she's the only one that can do it.
Okay.
Because she does the Yaphet Kodo thing where she takes a piece of his sweater.
Yep. And then sad-faced boyfriend goes in the basement, finds a blade, and just assumes, like, yeah, this will probably kill Freddy.
Oh, yeah. Is that what she hits him with at the end?
Yes, to cut off his hand.
Is it like a paper cutter thing?
I don't fucking...
Because I can't tell what it is. And they use it like a sword later, and I don't understand.
Yeah. Yep, he gets slashed.
And yeah, this movie's basically over.
Yeah, I mean, what happens? She's back in her house. Classic scare where, like, she's watching Freddy from the closet, and then he's in the closet, and he's like, boo. What else happens here? Sorry, this is going to be a little boring, just because, like, I'm trying to remember. Oh, she falls into a chocolate fudge Willy Wonka chocolate river.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about him in the closet for just a second.
Sure.
It's just like the color blue thing. We were watching it, right before he pops up and says, boo, you said boo.
Yeah.
And then you went, no, maybe I should rate this movie. And I've been thinking about it. I think this movie's that's just the biggest sign of this movie's bad.
Yeah.
Because that is first thought, best thought, for sure, right?
I think you're probably onto something.
Like, I feel like a lot of this movie is first thought, best thought.
Yeah.
I can't, honestly, I can't think of anything scarier for him to say other than boo.
Yeah.
But,
I got nothing either.
I was trying to think of, like, a hide-and-seek related thing, because that would work.
Yeah.
But,
the second scariest thing I can think of is shh. A shush.
A shush isn't bad.
You know? But more important than that?
He's Freddy Krueger, so he's funny, so he could have said something like, do you think he saw us? Or something like that.
That's what I keep thinking, but I'm trying to think of, like, the most concise and lean way to do something like that. I don't have it, though. Also, I didn't get paid to write the movie, though.
True. Also, it should probably be fast, because the boo is probably supposed to scare us as well.
Yeah. But she is now doing the thing that some of these movies do, where she's dressed like an 8-year-old girl.
Which I hate.
And he's being all weird, and he's like, you're in a coma now because the whole sleep thing, and that means I get to molest you for all of eternity now. I'm your boyfriend now, yep. And then her boyfriend does successfully wake her up, and they run around fighting Freddy. Not bad. Freddy in real world, genuinely, again, not bad. I don't mind Freddy that much.
You know what I just thought of?
What?
Why is he going after the kids?
Just because he's a fucking prick.
Not the parents that killed him?
Get revenge. I mean, that's the thing in the beginning, right? It's like, oh, they killed me, so now I'm going to get revenge on them by killing the kids. But yeah, again, like, can he not show up in the adults' dreams?
Yeah.
I know it's more... in the first one, it's like, in my opinion, it's like, oh, he's so evil, right? That, like, it's like, he was a child killer to begin with. In this one, he's not a child killer, though. He's a child diddler.
Mm-hmm.
So again, yeah, I don't know. It's just... that also makes it weird, because it's like, okay, so, like, why wouldn't he be killing the parents? You know, like, I could see him, like, showing up and maybe diddling them in their sleep. But, again, what movie is that? You can't have, you know, The Night Diddler, the movie, right?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
How do you film that?
Yeah. So...
Yeah, and also they're not...
kids anymore, so you wouldn't be into it. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, I just think the diddling thing adds in, like, just, like, I am confused. I don't know what it does.
It just fucks it up in layers.
Just have him be a kid killer, because then it makes sense that he's killing these kids. I will also say in the beginning, I know it's a nitpick, and I'm so sorry, but, like, there's that dude with, like, a fucking, you know, he's got 5 o'clock shadow. He's, like, ruggedly handsome. Probably got to be 26. There's no way he's younger than 26.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I was like, if this movie is about high schoolers, I'm going to riot.
Yeah.
And it is.
It took a very long time for you to get definitive proof that, like, oh, this is the high school that they're in. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, I think, maybe the worst age for... or the worst looking time for adults playing kids in movies.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know, the 90s and the 80s, it doesn't really bother me that much.
No.
But, like,
because I feel, yeah.
Yeah, around now, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, these adults are looking old as fuck.
Yeah, because, like, I think it's because of how, like, like they like in this era they like curated like the most like close to like magazine idea of like beautiful people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like in the 90s, like Matthew Lillard doesn't look like he belongs in a magazine.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So like he just looks like, you know, a guy you might know in high school. You know what I'm saying? Even though he might look a little old. I will pause that conversation to say that I do like this. This movie has the best Nightmare on Elm Street ending of any of these movies.
Oh, yeah.
Because they all go for like just a weird left field, shitty, like slapped on to the end, like no thought put into it, just like blah. And this one is just like, it's kind of hard to describe, but basically like Nancy is talking to her American Horror Story mother in front of a mirror, and when she bends down and stands back up, her reflection is not of her, it's of Freddy standing behind her, and then he stabs through the mirror, through her eyes, pulls her into the mirror, and the mirror reassembles but covered in blood. And it's good.
Not bad, yeah.
Not bad. Not bad. And with that, we've seen every Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Thank God.
Yeah. So I guess to start off, this movie, it's like a bland thing. I don't hate it. It's like, I guess it gets an F just because it's like, why does this thing even exist? But I'm not like angry. I'm not like, oh my God, I can't believe I wasted my time on it. It's just so bland and forgettable. I just got to give it an F because, again, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just so, yeah, like, meh, you know. Whimper. What a whimper for this to go out on.
Absolutely.
You know?
I think I also give it an F for the same reasons, but I also feel more negative about it than you do.
Okay.
I think if...
You feel robbed of your time?
I do. I think if a movie is this nothing and boring, I do feel like my time has been wasted.
Okay.
If a movie's bad, and it's bad,
yeah,
and I can be like, man, this movie's bad, I can have a good time watching that movie. But a movie like this is just, it's bad for like deep-seated, like, strange reasons where it's like just very clearly, I just feel like, and I'm probably wrong, it's hard to make a movie and a lot of things can go wrong, but these are one of those movies where while I'm watching it I'm like, whoever's making this should not be making movies.
Yeah.
And I don't think this director made another movie afterwards, so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he's had a very good, successful career in music videos, and I don't mean it in a mean way, but like, you know, people try things all the time and you're like, that doesn't really work out for me. This thing obviously didn't really work out for him, and that's fine. But yeah, it just, it was like kind of slow, disjointed. There was really no like oomph or like...
There's no pace to it at all. Yeah,
there's nothing. It just kind of like happens, but it's not so slow that you're like, what the fuck? It's just like this like weird meandering kind of... Yeah. I don't know. Hard to describe, almost.
Yeah, and it never really feels like a scene ends or a scene starts.
Yeah.
Like they all like... It all feels like you're cutting from one character to another at the same time, but there's not like a progression of a film happening. Like it feels like you're just cutting to everybody.
Yeah.
And it's all the same scene, but also it's not. I don't know how to... I'm doing a bad job describing how I feel about it, but yeah, it's just...
Well, to wrap it up, I mean, I have the list somewhere, but I don't feel convicted and like, you know, I don't have enough conviction to like go find it. How do you feel about his look compared to like the rest of the shit?
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great.
I think it's probably
dead in the middle.
Me personally, I'd probably put it like number 3, like 2-1-3 or 2-1. This one, I mean, is what I'm saying. Because I probably do like it more than New Nightmare personally.
I would put it right under that probably.
Yeah. But otherwise, I don't think he had anything too crazy funny to say. I don't think any of the dreams were that memorable. I don't think there was really a kill other than that first one. I guess the first one would be the one that I'd pick for like best kill. And in terms of ranking, I would probably put this one... I don't know if it's like controversial, but like... I mean, I kind of... I don't know. Like, out of like morally speaking, I feel like I should put it at the bottom. But like, it was not as... I guess the bottom. I'm just going to play it safe and diplomatic and be like, this is the bottom. Although I don't think it's as egregious as like 3, 5, 6... 3, 4, 5. Not like that they were like, oh, these are travesties. I just mean like it's like one of those things where like I don't really see myself going back to watch 3, 4, or 5. But there are a couple of things in this where I'm like, I kind of like just those scenes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that would, like I think this one has some strong scenes. Whereas those other ones, like, I was literally looking at my phone while we were watching the movies.
Yeah.
So not to say that it's better, because it's just objectively not, but it's just a tough series as a whole, I think. And I think we've talked about this a lot over the course of the movies. And now that we're at the end here, we can talk a little bit more about that if you'd like. But yeah, my takes on it as I walk away, I don't know that I'll really spend that much time with any of these. Since we finished the Friday the 13th, since we finished Halloween, I have revisited, the 4th Friday the 13th and the 6th Friday the 13th. And as far as Halloween is concerned, I've watched Halloween a couple of times since. And, I've watched Halloween 4/5 half-heartedly late at night during, like, Halloween a couple of times. And, I've watched Halloween Ends since. But this one, I don't know. I'm not that big of a Fredhead, I guess.
Yeah.
It didn't really do too much for me terribly. And if anything, if I'm being honest, like, the sad part too is that, like, I think with some time it'll go away, but at least for right now, like, having now, like, dragged my rake through this garden, like, I'm like, fuck, I kind of feel like I fucked up the first two a little bit too, for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like kind of like guilty by association, like bringing the ship down with the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, that's just my kind of that's my main takeaway. I think, like I said earlier, I prefer serious dark Freddy. Although at the same time, if you listen to every episode, Freddy's Dead, which is notoriously the one that everybody hates the most, I thought was great. I do also like funny Freddy, but again, it's almost like Evil Dead 2 thing, where it's like, yeah, I mean, I prefer Evil Dead, but that doesn't mean Evil Dead 2's bad. I like funny Freddy, but you better go full goofy. Funny Freddy. But to finish it up, again, I think we talked about it a couple of times, hat on a hat thing. I think, if they do another Nightmare on Elm Street, I really hope they, especially if it progresses into being like a quote-unquote franchise, stay away from like, oh, his mom was a nun that got raped by 100 maniacs, and like, all this, like, oh, there's like these dream tadpoles that live inside of him that gave him the job because he was the worst guy on earth. It's like he's already a child murderer that has found the way to come back as a dream demon. That's enough,
I would like for them to do, if they come back with this, I want them to do, the thing that they do, like they did with Halloween, and they're going to do with RoboCop, where it's like, this is a sequel to the first one.
Yeah.
Like, we're ignoring all the other ones.
Sure.
I want a new Nightmare on Elm Street to do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I want a new Nightmare on Elm Street to come out and it be number 7.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh yeah, no, all that other stuff still happened, but anyway, here's a new movie.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be cool. I would like to enter an era where like suddenly that became a thing, or even just like something I see pitched online a lot that I don't know if will ever gain traction, is like, hey, why not be a sequel to a specific sequel? Like, hey, this is a sequel to the third one, Yeah,
that shit's cool.
Why not?
I love that, yeah.
Why not, Hey, do you have any closing thoughts?
I would probably rank this new one at the bottom as well. Yeah. Because, I mean, I think you're right. I think the guy killing himself at the beginning is dope, and the mom at the end is fun.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It just... Like, even the worst of the old ones, like 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
They're bad, and I was on my phone for some of it, but I don't know what it is about those and, like, the quote-unquote bad slasher movies, but there's always something in them where, like, I don't know, that Freddy at the end where the people are coming out of his body.
Oh, yeah. That's absolutely fair. That's why I took my statement back pretty quick, because I was like, nah, at least those still had like something creative. And like,
that's what I was going to get at. Like, all the way through it, even if the movie doesn't come together and it feels like a cash grab and yada yada, there is just still a sense somewhere in that movie that people are trying to do something creative here. Where this 2010 one, I don't feel that at all.
Yeah.
Because all the like all the shots and everything from the first movie, that doesn't feel like, oh, we're putting a new it is literally just like, how do we get that into this movie?
Yeah.
And okay, well, we got to do it, but now we have to do it with CGI because it's 2010.
Yeah.
And it just feels soulless to me. Where the other ones, even when they are bad, it feels, like something that was made by a team of people.
Sure.
And so I enjoy it for that. After watching all of these, same, I could probably see myself watching 1 or 2 or New Nightmare again.
Yeah.
But that might be it. Chris?
Yeah.
I've been trying to be diplomatic about it all fucking 4 episodes of this.
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger sucks.
Yeah.
I don't like that guy.
No.
I don't think, as a whole, if the Nightmare on Elm Street movies blew off the face of the earth, I'd be totally fine with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just...
it's just a good idea. I just don't know that, like, again, other than, like, the first two, it was executed that great for me.
If I'm being honest, I don't think it was done that well in the first two.
That's fair, too.
I think they're fine, but also when I think of, like, a guy that kills you in your dreams, I think they are pretty fucking tame.
Yeah.
Like, I can't...
because it is so creative, and I don't even mean that in terms of, like, because I feel like when you say it, it's like, why don't you have them dream about going to space, is like the direction they took it, and I'm like, no, I'm saying, like, create some kind of, like, unimaginable horror that I've never thought of, like, they have a body horror nightmare where, like, gross stuff is, like the bicycle, like, the motorcycle thing is an example, kind of, but, like, even, like, the things that they do with Freddy's body, with, like, the souls all over the chest, like, have nightmares like that, where shit like that's happening to people. I feel like would be like way scarier if he was like, oh, that's too whatever. Like, I just feel like it's like scarier than like, oh no, the grocery store is now a boiler room.
Yeah, I feel like 90% of the dreams in all of these movies are, oh, I'm in a boiler room.
Yeah.
Like, there are some where, like, that girl's getting force-fed by Freddy, or that girl's in the Roach Motel. Yeah. But the rest of them, I feel like, are, you're in a boiler room, and, Freddy Krueger's here, and either you wake up or you don't. And, there's just, I think we talked about this a couple episodes. It is just the idea of a guy that kills you in your dreams is limitless. And, like, a dream should either be, hell on earth, or very mundane and then turn into like a nightmare instead of whatever that weird middle ground is, which is the boiler room.
Because again, it's one of those things where, like, I mean, I've heard people describe their nightmares before, and it's like, when I think of a Nightmare on Elm Street nightmare, it's really not that nightmarish, aside from a couple that we've shouted out on the show. Like, just like I'm spitballing right now, I was just thinking about, like, what if, like, you're trapped in that, like, a room on fire that you've seen a couple people, it be in, and these the guy's in bed, and, like, the room's on whatever. But, like, you just burn alive but never, like, die.
Yeah, that sucks.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how come they're never in, like, nightmare situations where, like, me as the viewer is sitting there sweating, like, oh, God, that would suck. It's always just like, oh, you open the door to your front room, and now it's a boiler room. It's like, okay, dude, with the boiler room thing, like, do something spooky with this dream idea.
Yeah, like, that's why I think the second one's the best, is pretty specifically just for that dream, because what I would want is something like that, or like everyone in all these movies, they have the dream and they open the door and then it's the boiler room and they go, Yeah. I like that in the second one. He walks out of his house and then he's in front of that bar, and then he walks around the corner. He's in his high school and he does not mind at all. Yeah. Like, he doesn't notice because it's a dream. And you don't really notice those things. Like, there's a dream I had once where I was just, like, helping someone at a fair, just, like, move boxes from, like, one exhibit from, like, one attraction to another. Yeah. And out of nowhere, this man I'd never seen before, with, like, he had, like, a yellow t-shirt on, and he had, like, long, greasy hair. He looks like, Steve Aoki? No. He looks like him, but with red hair. He just came out of nowhere, and he goes, ah! And he comes up and he stabs me. Okay. And obviously I wake up. I was like, that was fucked up. And then I get up, I go to the bathroom, or whatever, and then I go back to sleep, and I have another dream where I'm hanging out with a bunch of people in a hotel room. Yeah. And for some reason, during this party, I'm like, I'm going to go take a shower. I get in the shower, I open the shower door, and outside the shower door is a street at night. And I'm just on the street at night, and there's a guy fixing a street light in the middle of the night. Yeah. I was like, that's strange. And then I hear something from over here, and I look down, and the guy in the yellow shirt from the first dream comes and he stabs me. Just do shit like that.
That's great, yeah. I mean, to give you two examples, one, I think in the second one of my favorite dreams is the one where, like, he wakes up and he feels like he hears a noise or whatever, so he, like, walks down stairs and then he walks outside and he's just kind of standing still for a minute because he's like, where is this coming from, kind of a thing, and then he, like, walks a little bit more and he can just kind of see into his basement and he sees Freddy Krueger down there doing something. Yeah. So then he goes inside and, like, he's frozen in fear right at his stairs where he has the option to go into the basement or go upstairs, and instead of doing either, he's frozen in place and he just goes, Dad, like, to try to get his dad's attention. He's like, Dad, something's going on in the basement, or whatever. Great. That's nightmarish. Yeah. But the other thing is, better than most dreams in most of these movies, there's a nightmare sequence in American Werewolf in London that I think is great. It's funny and scary in the perfect way that, again, these Freddy Krueger dreams should be. It's the main character. He's hanging out at home with his mom and his dad and his little siblings, and his littler siblings are playing it looks like early 80s. It's a very lush and lavish kind of house because obviously the main character is someone who comes from a family that can afford to allow him to travel Europe for 3 months out of a backpack. And they're playing video games on the TV, and dad's reading a paper or whatever, and mom's kind of hanging out ha ha ha, chuckling just at watching the kids do whatever. And then all of the doors and windows just get bombarded by ghoul-faced Nazis with machine guns that just shoot all of his family a million times in front of him while he's just God, God. And there's dugga, 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 just blood everywhere, just filled with bullets kind of a thing. And then he wakes up and he goes, oh my God. And it's pitch black in the room. And this nurse that he has a crush on is oh, Mr. Thompson or whatever. It's really spooky. Opens up the curtains and one of those gremlins shows up and just starts stabbing her over and over again with a bayonet. And he's ah! And he wakes up again. He's oh, holy shit. And you as an audience member, it worked perfectly, that false relief thing into a second scare, because I totally bought it. I didn't think that he was gonna be waking up from a nightmare into the second nightmare at all, and it was good because again it was also funny because it's you didn't expect it, so that makes you laugh inherently, and it's so ridiculous to watch this ghoul-faced Nazi just stabbing the shit out of her.
That's the perfect cross between all the things we want from it.
Yeah,
I think if you were to do a modern day one, it should be kind of like that, where you as a viewer are also I don't know if we're in a dream or not. Just you don't know where one starts and where one ends. I had an example with another movie, but I can't remember what it was. But I don't know, just do weird shit where
oops,
unprofessional.
Go ahead.
Just do weird shit where the thing that happens in dreams all the time where I don't know, this house...
A guy's repairing a light at night.
This guy's repairing a street light at night, and this house can't really exist, these hallways...
Yeah, the liminal... Spend a lot of time on Instagram looking at liminal pages.
Yeah.
Dreams are always a little liminal.
Or, you've seen this house throughout the movie,
Yeah.
So that when this character goes out the front door, they're in their backyard now.
Yeah.
And if you're paying attention, it's oh, fuck, this is probably a dream that they're in, and then you find out it's a dream, yada, yada. Or, also, if you're not paying that close attention, you don't know until they wake up in their bed, and you're well, fuck, how long has it been a dream?
Yeah.
Just a Nightmare on Elm Street movie should be confusing, is what I'm getting at.
And you know what? In my opinion, that's that, bitch. I feel like that was a good place to end it. If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time,